do we have,
I moved to go to closed session, right? Is that what we're doing? We're going to close?
First go through who's here and who's not here.
All right. Board members present, Steve Brown, Ted Gergen, Nicole Haas, Nick Poloni. Board members absent, Jack Nikolai. Administrators present, Vicky King, Christy Weinstock, Marquez Guzman.
Yeah.
I don't even have it on my list, right here. Just so I don't screw it up. All right. And I move to go to closed session.
Actually, we need to approve the agenda.
All right.
No, I mean, just
Yes. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
so moved.
All those in favor?
aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries.
I move to have the board go into closed session, which will be in the middle school library, according to Wisconsin statute 19.851F, considering financial, medical, social, or personal histories or disciplinary data of specific persons, which, if discussed in public, would be likely to have a substantial adverse effect upon the reputation of any person referred to in such histories or data or involved in such problems or investigations. We will also discuss open enrollment applications, both in and out of the school district, and also according to Wisconsin statute 19.851C, considering employment, promotion, compensation, or performance evaluation data of any public employee over which the governmental body has jurisdiction or exercises responsibility, and this will be a discussion of school year full-time hourly compensation. And the board will reconvene after that in open session back in this room.
This needs to be a roll call vote.
Yep.
We have a second first.
I thought we had a second. Oh, second.
Okay. All those in favor, we'll do roll call.
Yep.
Nick?
Aye, aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Steve?
Aye.
Ted? Aye. Motion carries.
entertaining open enrollment applications for the 2023-2024 school year as presented.
Second. All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Can I have a motion to adjourn the special school board meeting?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I got it.
Special school board meeting is adjourned at 7:01 p.m. All right, welcome everybody. We're gonna call this meeting to order at 7:01 p.m. Board members present: Steve Brown, Ted Gergen, Nicole Haas, Nick Poloni. Administration present: Vicky King, Marquez Guzman, Christy Weinstock. No Patty, no Ryan?
They were, I don't see them now though.
All right, any visitors, please make sure that you signed in outside. And if we could have that Cub Scout pack up here to help us with the Pledge of Allegiance, that would be fantastic.
You're gonna introduce
Mike,
yourself?
what happened?
Mike,
Yeah, I know. Oh, yeah, a little spine surgery. So I'm Mike with Cub Scouts Factory 28, and this is,
My name is Quinn. My name's Adam. My name's Bennett. My name's Nick. My name's George. My name is
awesome. Let's face the flag. Scout salute. I pledge allegiance to the
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great job.
Nice job.
Thank you.
thank you.
Thanks for being here. Well done. Great job, guys.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for being here. Always appreciate it.
All right, can I please get a motion to approve the agenda?
Motion to approve the agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. I don't, do you have that slide up there or no? Okay, all right. Welcome everybody. It's super exciting to see all these wonderful faces here today. We're gonna take a look at the committee assignments for this upcoming school year. Again, we don't have Jack here, but buildings and grounds, the committee assignments moving forward will be Jack and myself. Jack will be the chair. Personnel and negotiations will be myself and Nick. I will be serving as the chair. Education review will be Steve and myself. Steve would be serving as the chair. Policy and community relations will be Steve and Jack, with Steve serving as the chair. Finance will be Nick and Nicole, with Nick serving as the chair, and technology will be Nicole serving as the chair. Any questions at all? All right, and then another item of business is looking for our CISA rep. Steve has served as our CISA rep for, I don't know how long,
5 years?
5 years.
4 years or 5.
Is anybody, we need to appoint a CISA rep for the next school year?
I motion to appoint Steve Brown as our CISA 2 representative.
A second.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Congratulations, Steve, and thank you for serving on that.
It'd be weird if you didn't get it being on the board of control there too.
For us, much appreciated. Steve, are there any? Is there any correspondence?
I have no correspondence, Mr. President.
Thank you. And Nicole, would you like to share the treasurer's report?
Sure. All right. I'd like to,
CISA 2.
Oh, I'm sorry.
sorry.
Are there any CISA 2 updates?
I just have one quick thing. I've served on the CISA Board of Control for 4 years, and I think I'm the vice chair this year. The discussion we had at our meeting last week to talk about the Head Start and early Head Start training, and I had mentioned this before at a previous board meeting, that CISA 2 is authorized by DPI, the Wisconsin Department of Public Instruction, to offer courses, all of which are online, to anyone who wants to become a Head Start teacher, a special ed teacher, other grades, and they're working towards having school administrative certification totally online, which is really neat. DPI turns to CISA 2 to do this, and of course we are part of CISA 2. So that was from our meeting last week.
Yeah, that's exciting news for all those folks.
Yeah, it's
right?
great. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Steve. Sorry. All right. Nicole?
Okay. Treasurer's report?
Yes, please.
Are we ready? First
We're
time.
ready.
All right.
Here we go.
I'm not gonna do it as good as you did.
I'm sure it'll be
I'll
better.
try to do great. All right. I'd like to present the treasurer's report dated April 2023. I'll read the ending balance for each of our accounts. General fund cash accounts with a balance of $845,339.07. Credit cards account with a balance of $54,990.20. EBC Flex and HRS cash account with a balance of $13,471.19. Capital Improvement Fund, Fund 46, with a balance of $30,608.25. Petty cash with a balance of $300. LGIP with a balance of $2,792,795.54. WISC with a balance of $22,402,373.78. For a grand cash and investment asset total of $26,139,878.03. Payment of accounts payable bills. I'd like to present the payment of accounts payable bills dated April 1st through April 30th, 2023. This includes checks numbered 71784 through 71834. Checks numbered 2022-01141 to 2022-01373. And checks numbered 222-3000078 to 223300087 for a total of $733,939.28.
Thank you. You great.
All right, I'll hop in and just briefly present the monthly revenue and expense report. So we are looking, at this point in the year, we're through April, so we're through the majority of the school year. On the revenue side of things, we have, I think we're slightly behind where we were at this point last year. So last year at this point, we had 66% of the revenue received. This year, we're at 62%. The main reason for that is our federal revenues. I've been kind of withholding our grant claim on the ESSER side until I see how the state budget turns out. If the state budget for next year looks bleak, we might save some of those ESSER funds for next year to help balance the budget. If next year's state budget looks okay, then we will move forward with the claims as planned. Obviously, I'll keep everybody here on the board updated as we get into June, and then obviously July is the final month we can make a claim because then we start going through our audit. On the next slide, we have the expense report. On this one, it's the same trend that we've seen throughout the whole year. Our expenses are up over year from this point last year. The main reason, in addition to those AHUs, those air handling units that we bought early in July, that was $200,000. The big reason is our Fund 27 transfer and our Fund 46 transfer is greatly reduced since we now have our referendum, Fund 39. So that would have been a large chunk. Last year, we transferred $4.2 million between Fund 46 and Fund 27. This year, we're only projected to transfer 1.6. So our total expenditures are down in Fund 10 compared to last year. So relatively, our expenses as a percentage are up. But overall, we're still on pace to be on budget, and we'll keep everybody updated as we get here into the final month of the fiscal year. Just a reminder, our fiscal year ends on June 30th. That doesn't mean all the bills and stuff are stopped paying. We still receive invoices in July that we backdate or we post to June. We still pay them out in July, but it gets a little weird here as we finish the fiscal year. Do we have any questions on revenues or expenses at this point?
Just the state budget, when do they expect to have a decision on that? Or like what's happening next?
Yes. So now, as we move now into Memorial Day weekend, the hope was that this week we'd have an update. As each day goes by, it's a little less likely. So now that, I think we're looking into the next week, and then, first full week of June, hopefully we'll have some better clarity with where we're at. There is an information item here at the end of the meeting that I'll go into a little more detail on the budget, but yeah.
How does the conversation at the federal level impact what's happening in schools in terms of like Title I, like grant money and things like that?
So there has been some discussion about the debt ceiling issue that's currently going on. May impact claims. So if you file a federal claim, you might not receive the cash as quickly. Ultimately, that won't impact us from any standpoint, because as we get into the summer, we're actually at one of our higher points in cash. It's more of a logistical thing at this point. Obviously, if that were to carry forward later into the school year or into next school year, it would be a bigger concern. But I think at that point, there would be much bigger concerns on a national level from like the stock market and everything else. That will come up again on another item later today as well. So. Yeah.
Suspense.
Is that the slugs?
Yep.
No, can't wait.
Minutes? Do you want to?
Yep.
Oh, you're right. We all go together. Thank you. You looked at me and I should have known. All right. So we have the new hire contract for the Assistant Director of Innovation and Educational Technology, Jennifer Griffith. She actually comes from one of the CISAs. We are excited to have her. She's going to help steer the conversation related to our electives programs. It followed the same process we have for all of our applicants that we've now started, where we do the blind paper screening, a one-on-one interview, and then a group does then interviews with a variety of candidates, and she came out by far on the top, and she is excited if today you guys approve her contract. And then I'm going to let Mr. Holzum, the principal for next school year, talk briefly about the recommendation for the assistant principal.
All right, well, good evening, everyone. Dr. King, thanks for this opportunity. Over the last couple of weeks, I've really started growing into this position, and I'm really excited for the coming year. One of the things that I was most excited about was hiring an assistant principal. And we had an incredible field of candidates, very, very deep. We had 43 people step up. In fact, I talked to Marquez to actually open up the interview process a little bit longer, because I had some people that I knew for various circles that I'm involved with looking for the first administrative shot, and I thought they would be good candidates. So I went through, and our team went through the different candidates that had submitted applications. We read each application. We even got to the point where we were starting to call other references. And then, of course, we got down to pass right at the bottom of the list. The only thing I have against Allie over here is that her last name doesn't begin with an A or a B, because she is an incredible candidate. Allie Schmidt has worked in Salem for 22 years. Her commitment to this was helpful. Having contacted her references and some other people, because that's kind of how we roll in education. These other people included former students. These people included parents. This is our candidate. Allie has an incredible track record. She's dedicated, she's an amazing teacher, and she's inspired and instilled a sense of trust among the people she works with in the community, and parents, and the students she serves. This is an incredible educator, and it's a wonderful opportunity. And I can think of no one better to be a part of this administrative team to take Salem to the next level. So, team, family here, I'm calling you all that. This is our associate principal. This is our pick.
After they've got to approve them first, so. Hold your horses, sit down. Yeah.
What can we say at this point?
I'm glad you feel that way. No, but in all seriousness, board, thank you so much for this consideration. I do humbly ask that you consider to hire her. She's incredible. So thank you, Neil.
All right. So again, if just recall, when we approve a consent agenda item, it's all of those things that we just talked about. So the treasurer's report, the revenue expense report, the minutes of the regular school board meeting, and the 2 contracts that we just discussed. So can I please have a motion to approve the consent agenda items A through F as presented?
I move to approve the consent agenda items A through F as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries. Diane, you said there are no public comments this evening.
Okay. All right, well, we have an exciting special presentation from our 4th grade students, and I'm just going to go ahead, let Ms. Brown go ahead and introduce. How about you all come down, so you're ready for your turn. Make sure we'll get some pictures too for families.
Okay, so last month, as a 4th grade, we talked a lot about recycling, and we had some excited and passionate learners wanting to have their questions answered about why don't we recycle more here at Salem, and we have a lot of great ideas, we want to share them. I said, hold that thought. Can we present at the board meeting? Let's put all these ideas to good use. So these are some of the volunteers. We had a few others, but I didn't want to make the group too big, so we were able to get it done in a short amount of time because it was a little bit last minute. But they did a great job getting some information together. So we'll have a few groups present some slides. They're taking turns. We've organized, we've practiced, and they're ready and going to do great. So I'll hand it over. Boys, you get to start. We're ready for the next slide.
Oh, next slide, yes.
What does it mean to reduce, reuse, or recycle? Reducing. You should reduce because it's the most helpful way to save our environment. How you reduce, you may ask? Well, reducing is easy. All you do is don't buy stuff you only use once or don't buy stuff you don't need. Reusing. You should reuse because it's a waste if you throw something away that could be reused. A sad fact, 50% of the plastic in the ocean can be recycled or reused. Recycling. You should recycle because it's better for the planet, and Salem School should recycle. Just think about it. If we wouldn't recycle, then a lot of animals and people would die. When you recycle, you help the planet in many ways. How you can reduce, reuse, and recycle. You can reduce by stop littering and save it to put in a recycling bin so it does not damage the earth. Also, you can reduce by not buying stuff you don't need. Reusing. You can reuse plastic bottles after drinking it by filling them up with water again. If it breaks, then you can recycle it. You can recycle by putting a plastic bottle or a soda can in a recycling bin. You could also recycle a grocery bag. The point here is you should recycle because it helps the world around us. You should recycle plastic because why we should reduce, reuse, and recycle. You should recycle plastic because if we don't, it can stay in landfills for many years. Two, if we wouldn't use bags, we shouldn't use bags in our recycle bins because they can tangle machines or affect sea animals like turtles, fish, and sharks. Three, if we recycle tin cans and plastics, the world will be easier to clean and be less polluted. Four, our ability to recycle will decide how long humanity will survive. If we recycle, we can save trees, air, and more. If we don't recycle, we can kill our trees, air, and years of survival. Five, classes should have a recycling bin because recyclable items go to the landfill if they are in the garbage can. If we separate recyclables, recycling centers can reuse the items to make new items. Ways we could help the environment by recycling. One way we can help the environment if we recycle, we can get more stuff. Another way to help the environment by recycling is having more awareness for organizations like Team Trees and Team Seas. In conclusion, if we recycle, we can help the environment in many ways. Team Trees is a collaborative fundraiser that raised $20 million to plant 20 million trees. Team Seas is an international collaborative fundraiser that raises money to clean huge amounts of pounds of trash from the oceans.
What does Salem look like now? Take a look. We'll take a look. Things aren't well. There's trash at the park, school, and more technically everywhere. Kids aren't putting things into the right bin, aka trash can. Then it doesn't end up where it should be, on the floor. For example, if there is an old glue stick on the floor, and after the school cleaners are there and don't know where to put it, it can end up outside. Another example is when there's a softball game or a basketball, baseball game. People leave their popcorn or chip bag outside and end up on the road or in other places, and even animals think it's food. It might not be safe for the animals to eat or drink. People are putting gum on the streets and everywhere. Finally, we are using pencils faster than we should be. We need to think about our actions before we act.
What can we do better as Salem? Well, we can start by looking outside. What do you see? Yep, it's garbage and trash. Even inside it's not going well. Trash ends up everywhere. Even in the building there's a lot of trash. We were thinking about putting garbage cans outside. Just think about all the popcorn bags that would be gone. Also, all about the little lives of the little critters you would save, and maybe it could help persuade other communities to pick up garbage, and then the world would be a better place. Secondly, we were thinking about inside after lunch. Kids are bringing food or trash outside and then leaving it there, so maybe putting garbage cans by the doors where kids come in and out for recess so they can bring food out, and so if they bring food out, they can throw it away. Lastly, we were thinking about having a day where kids can come out and bring garbage bags outside to help clean the playground and nearby. I think all of these reasons could help Salem School and our community to make the world a better place.
The cafeteria needs recycling cans. It needs recycling cans because a lot of people use forks, plastic cups, and other things that can and should be recycled, and people put the recyclables in the trash. The classroom would be a better place if we had mini recycling cans. For example, since the classes have desk partners, each group could have one mini garbage can. And at the end of the day, one of the people at the desk group takes it out and recycles the scraps in the garbage cans.
Outside needs recycling cans because many people bring ketchup packets and sporks and other cafeteria items outside. We also have noticed that people at baseball games, volleyball games, track and field, and other outdoor sports held here at Salem leave their recyclables and trash outside and litter. The art room would also be another great place for more recycling cans because all of the paper and recyclables left in that room. We have noticed that in the art room that the trash cans fill up very fast, and it may be a bigger problem than it already is soon.
Option 2, TerraCycle.
Would you be able, so I didn't do just a clip, but we were hoping we could show like 45 seconds or so of that link there. Start it at like 36 seconds in. Not to be difficult.
After the commercial.
Yeah. Pardon the interruption.
It's okay.
30 seconds in?
36.
32, that's good, perfect.
TerraCycle is a company with a mission to make our waste stream 100% recyclable. So I'm curious, is it possible to recycle everything? Today, I visit TerraCycle's headquarters to find out. I'm Missy Vickers, and this is One Small Step. Today, I'm in New Jersey at TerraCycle, and I'm going to find out how to recycle these old snack packages, my old contact lenses, and my old chewing gum. Let's go. But before we do that, let's meet TerraCycle co-founder and CEO, Tom Zaki. He started the company in 2001, selling fertilizer made from wormwood and upcycled plastic bottles. The company was so good at using recycled bottles for their fertilizer, eventually larger companies asked them to help solve their waste problems too. Seeing an opportunity, Zaki pivoted the company to help recycle everything. No, seriously, anything you can think of, they will recycle it. Grid filters, toothpaste, classroom supplies, flip-flops, athletic balls, plastic bags, old kitchen supplies, alkaline batteries, forks, snack packages, sandwich wrappers, and power cords. They collect
We can stop it there.
waste streams into millions of pounds per week. Now, back to
It's a pretty interesting video, but we didn't want to show all 6 minutes. The girls are going to summarize a little bit of what they couldn't provide first.
Very good.
What does their school program look like? At TerraCycle, their mission is to eliminate as much waste as possible so they fund businesses and schools. How does TerraCycle work? TerraCycle partners with facilities around the world to recycle things that are not locally recyclable. People get rewarded for recycling. Download a free prepaid shipping label from your TerraCycle account. Send in your shipment to earn 200 TerraCycle recycling reward points and an entry to win a zero waste box. Redeeming TerraCycle reward points for cash. Redeem up to $50 every 5 shipments of recyclables.
That is the end. We have one last slide with a picture and all of their names.
Oh, good, I was gonna ask.
So this was completely done by them, I mean, in Miss Brown's classroom, but you guys are brilliant work. There's no in there from us. It's just for all your hard work, and they are reusable water bottles. So we're not using plastic water bottles. Good job, guys. Way to go. There you go. Thank you for hearing their presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We had Mr. Mr. Guzman and me writing things down that we need to make sure we have in the school.
Just scheduled a meeting with our building and grounds director tomorrow.
Love it. Good job, kids. Makes a difference already.
I was gonna say, like, that will be part of, like, I think this is a good thing.
That's amazing.
Yeah. All right.
All right, time for the most awkward transition possible.
This happened last month. Once you follow students, it's really, they set the bar really high. It's really disappointing. So now we'll talk about defeasance. So we're presenting
I
it.
think Vicky does this on purpose, by the way.
So we're presenting an action item for a resolution authorizing defeasance. And we have to pay back each year for the next 12 years. And this is outside the revenue limit. So these dollars that were set aside for this defeasance can only be spent towards debt. It can't be used for any other purpose. So debt defeasance, as I mentioned, is setting aside money for the prepayment of debt in the future. And one of the reasons we recommended it was to flatten future mill rates and then to avoid these peaks and valleys. So you can see in that graph there, the orange line shows kind of what would have happened had we not done this defeasance. We would have had a huge drop in this mill rate and likely would have had it jump back up the following year. And if there's one way to make taxpayers upset is to see a huge jump in the tax rate. So what our goal, and this is part of the strategic planning process, was to kind of get to a consistent mill rate that we can live with, and taxpayers eventually will be able to hopefully depend on this mill rate not to go up and down drastically, and the goal will be kind of keep that at a level amount. And so you can see that blue line is kind of where the goal is to flatten that instead of going up, down, up, down, up, down. The reason why it's called defeasance is because technically we can't prepay the debt until 2030. That's when the debt is callable. So essentially we're setting this money aside in an escrow account. It's going to be earning interest, and then eventually in 2030, the escrow agent will then pay it off when it's payable. So if you could go to the next slide. Additionally, this debt defeasance, like I said, is going to save the district almost $200,000 in interest over the next 12 years. So the debt that we issued was a 12-year issuance, meaning the last year that we're going to be paying that is in 2034. So that, it's still quite a ways away. Like I mentioned, it's going to provide mill rate flexibility in future years. So next year, depending on how the state budget looks and, the levy looks, we could defease again, we could not, but with the goal of trying to keep that mill rate kind of flat. And then the big thing is if we're paying $565,000 towards this defeasance, that means our last payment in 2034 will be $565,000 less, which then gives us flexibility in that future year. So kind of like a bunch of different reasons why we're doing it: mill rate flexibility and keeping it level, saving us in the last year, and then also saving interest over the next 12 years. I did mention the U.S. government debt ceiling issue or impasse is throwing a wrench in things, and this is where I was going to mention slugs. So that's the state and local government series. Securities market is locked up at the moment, so they're not issuing U.S. bonds at the moment because of this government debt ceiling issue. So our goal is to get this all wrapped up and so the resolution is authorizing us to defease, but our goal is to get this defeasance done before the fiscal year wraps up on June 30th. Ideally, kind of like the state budget, we're hoping that here in the next few weeks, this is resolved, and then the slugs market opens back up. We will then be able to move forward as we planned. But in the event that it doesn't, then it might get pushed into the next fiscal year. Because it's Fund 39, it doesn't really impact anything, but I will definitely provide an update at the June board meeting with where we're at. The June board meeting is at the end of the month. Hopefully this is all taken care of by that point. But essentially this resolution is just authorizing the district to defease. So any questions on this one?
How far out does that flatten the mill rate? Does that flatten it all the way out to
So this
2030?
was a 1 year. This is just had a 1 year impact for this current year that we're in. But next year, if there is room to defease, maybe next year we can eventually see. We'll know the next 2 years on the state budget, so we'll be able to see, kind of have an idea of where the mill rate will be the next 2 years, and if maybe we can bring it lower, we'll try to do that. But I didn't want it to drop too much and then have it just jump up by like 40 cents the following year. So.
Any other questions?
A motion to approve the resolution authorizing the transfer of funds, the establishment of an escrow account with respect to and the defeasance of certain of the general obligation referendum bonds dated July 13th, 2022 as presented.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
That was the longest action item I've ever seen.
And no
The
one
title?
mentioned the slugs.
The slugs, yeah.
Got an acronym for everything.
Yes. All right, the next item is the 2023-24 Food Service Management Company contract, which I'll refer to as FSMC, short for Food Service Management Company. So Salem's current FSMC contract with Arbor is set to expire here at the end of the fiscal year, June 30th, 2023. Salem has contracted with Arbor since the 2017-18 school year. DPI, there's a base contract that's awarded, that was that 2017-18 year, and then DPI allows districts to renew up to 4 times with the same FSMC. During the pandemic, DPI allowed districts to renew for a 6th year, so that we took advantage of that last year, or actually for the current year. But now that is kind of run up, so we had to go through a whole RFP or request for proposal process. It was very thorough, and some of the administrators were a part of it. They could tell you all about it. And from start to finish, it takes at least 2 months to get through. I think ours dragged on for 2.5 months because we just allowed extra time for review. The document itself, which was attached on the agenda for you guys, was 76 pages in total. So it's a pretty beefy thing, a lot of legal language. In addition to posting the RFP in the newspaper and on our website, I also sent the RFP to all the food service management companies in with the state of Wisconsin, just to try to get as many people interested. I think we ultimately had 5 or 6 companies show up for a tour of the building. That was part of this process, and ultimately we received 3 submissions. On the next slide, all right. So then we had a committee consisting of several staff members from a variety of different areas, administration, building and grounds, clerical or administrative, to evaluate the submissions. According to DPI, they have a 10-point rubric. In addition to the cost, we're looking at the menu selection, we're looking at the food service management company's experience, references, financial transparency, staffing plans, including their food service director, involvement of students and staff, and then their overall promotion of the food service program. And when we did this review, I actually removed all the names from everybody, so it was a blind review. You're just viewing it on the merits of the submission. Through that rubric, everybody ranked. We tallied all the points, and ultimately Arbor received the highest score of the 3 submissions. And so we're recommending approval of the new food service management company contract with Arbor, and we're confident that we can continue our partnership with Arbor. And for those that don't remember, Arbor was a big part during the pandemic when school was closed. We still provided meals to families. We actually also partnered with another company to have food service deliveries to people's houses. So we've, in my mind, they've done a good part on that end. I still think there's ways to enhance and improve our food service program, but I think we have a good partnership with them. We have a new food service director who kind of came on board here in the last few months, Fran. If you haven't had a chance to meet her, she's great. I think a lot of staff will say the same thing, but we're very excited or hope to continue this partnership and would like to recommend approval with Arbor.
I motion to approve the 2023-2024 Food Services Management Company contract with Arbor Management Incorporated as presented.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor? Aye. Those opposed? Motion carries.
All right, now onto the budget. So we had a finance committee last week, kind of presented some of these topics. I'm just trying to keep it at a high level right now, and then at the June meeting, I'll have a preliminary budget that follows DPI's format. Hopefully, as we get to the end of next month, we'll have even more, some of these areas known. The state budget is the biggest question mark on the thing. So the first slide I'm going to talk about revenues, and the next one I'm going to talk about expenses. So on the revenue side, the big thing is the revenue limit. So that's the combination of state aid and property taxes that a school district can have for revenue. And so the DPI, the Department of Public Instruction, and the governor put together a budget proposal calling for a $350 per student or per member increase for next school year, and then the following year a $650 increase. Those would be great numbers, and actually when you do the math, the last 2 years the state froze the revenue limit, so school districts had the same amount of revenue the last 2 school years, and their logic was that we received those ESSER dollars, those federal funds, and we could use those to kind of make up for the budget, the flat revenues. Obviously, they didn't anticipate inflation and supply chain issues and the cost of everything going up. So when you do the math and you look at, well, if our revenue limit increases were indexed to inflation, over this 4-year period, we should have received a $1,500 increase. The governor's budget is calling for a $1,000 increase. So, I think the proposal put forth by the Department of Public Instruction and the governor was trying to be reasonable, maybe not asking for the full $1,500 that would mathematically work. But just knowing kind of the state legislature and where things stand in the state, I think they kind of came in kind of in the middle there. And so we're hoping if we got this, I'd be happy. If we got the $1,500 that was asked for at the Joint Finance Committee by lots of school officials, that'd be great. But that's the biggest piece of the puzzle that on the revenue side of things. Additionally, special education categorical aid has been a big topic. So currently, districts receive approximately 30% reimbursement from the state for special education expenses. The governor is calling for 45% of those expenses to be reimbursed next year, and then 60% the following year. Those would also be great because we get the 30% from the state for special education expenses. We get a little bit from the federal government through the IDEA grant, and then the school is on the hook for the remaining portion, and that's where that transfer from Fund 10 to 27 occurs. So essentially, we're funding approximately 60% of all special education expenses. So this would go a long way. And then per pupil categorical aid is another small one. I won't go into too much detail, but they're asking for a small increase. So this is outside the revenue limit. It's just on a per student basis. So they called for some smaller increases there. And then as I mentioned, the federal ESSER dollars, we will have ESSER through next year. So I'm kind of balancing where things are at for next year to determine how much we're going to claim this year versus how much we're going to put in our normal Fund 10 budget. And then I'll also be a part of next month's meeting as we do budget amendments. We'll have an update on that. So that's the revenue side of things. On the expense side of things, I know everybody's ready to move on, but salary and benefits are the 2 biggest pieces of our budget. Together they make up about 70% of the budget. For salary, CPI is calculated by WORK, the Wisconsin Employee Relations Commission, and that is 8% for this upcoming fiscal year. So statewide, a lot of districts kind of share with what they're planning to do. And so right now, that trend is landing in that 4 to 4.5% range. So I think that's kind of what we're targeting to remain competitive, as retaining and attracting employees is part of our strategic plan. So at the moment, that's kind of what I've been using in our budget projections. On the benefit side of things, we did receive a very favorable renewal from Humana, which will be presented at the June meeting. So that was obviously a big boost for us because I was anticipating a significant increase, and the renewal came in very well. So That's helping out the budget. On the purchase services or contract side of things, we did buy a significant amount of software this year, funded through ESSER. So in future years, depending on how the state budget turns out, we will have to reevaluate that once those ESSER dollars go away, when we have to potentially renew those contracts. On the supply side of things, we're not really projecting any significant increases at this time, but we are looking at ways to improve our purchasing process. And then we also are waiting on insurance, property, liability, workers' comp, some of those other auto insurance. We're waiting on those renewals, and we'll have those for the June meeting as well. Any questions on the budget? So I will present a full detailed budget in June, but those are kind of the high level pieces.
I'll wait until June to ask some.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to have Christy give an update on the Citizens Advisory Committee, the work they've been doing, and then the direction that committee is going. Thanks.
So our Citizens Advisory Committee has been meeting monthly, and we've been focusing on that part of the strategic plan that talks about civic responsibility. So we've been having really great meetings and brainstorming and talking through a lot of ideas about how to get our students and community engaged with our surrounding community and what we can do to help not only our building, but the Salem community. So just this past Saturday, we had 25 members of our Salem school community sign up for the Salem Lakes cleanup to go over there and help over the weekend. This Thursday is our next committee meeting, and we are going to have a presentation from the Sharing Center to start talking about how we can do better partnership with them. It's really exciting that the fourth graders just presented about their civic responsibility about recycling. So in the future, there could be some partnership between this committee and maybe some of our student groups like that to help bring more pieces into Salem School. So this committee is going to remain a focus group for this pillar of our strategic plan so that we can continue to have dialogue, ideas, connections throughout the community to help our students and families give back to the Salem community. So it's been a really exciting process. For those that are interested, Thursday night, we will be meeting in 201. And again, our next steps moving forward are planning an outline of different activities and things that we can do to help support the community and provide our students with opportunities to demonstrate that civic responsibility.
So what we're going to do moving forward, so in order to keep this going, because CAC typically is just the board initiates a task and they do it. We don't want this to go away. Nicole Haas has been really instrumental in bringing some of these pieces together with Christy and Nicole Paul. So we're going to continue. The work is going to continue under that leadership, but it's not going to be under CAC anymore. So it can continue the same way. It's 100% on our strategic plan, but within probably around July, I'm going to present some policy that we're going to need to do that CAC will focus. We're going to need to bring a CAC around for something else. So CAC is not we're going to call it something else, but this work is going to continue with the same people and perhaps get some student leaders on there as well. After seeing some of this today, might be a good idea. So it's been pretty cool to see. So any questions for Christy or even Nicole about?
No, that's great. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. I'll jump in when I can. So
Okay.
go ahead.
Okay. So this is the final information item on the agenda tonight, the transportation update. So at the last couple board meetings, we've discussed transportation issues that have been coming up. So in response to that, we did put out a survey to get feedback on possible solutions. The survey was issued to families on May 2nd, was open through May 9th. In total, we received 104 responses representing 171 students. And of those responders, 92.3% of those responders had students that are currently riding on the bus. So we did ask 4 questions. The first question was about adding new camera equipment on the buses, to which 85.6% of respondents responded in favor of that option or solution. The next question was about grade segregated routes. So that would be having the same number of buses, but half of them would be for the younger grades and half of them would be for the older grades. That one was pretty split, but 52.9% responded not in favor of that option. The next one was staggered routes. So that would be having our current fleet of 17 buses first pick up the younger students, or first pick up the older students, and then pick up the younger students on a second tier of routes. So that would impact our start and end times. That one received 70.2% that were not in favor of that option. And then question 4 was kind of, should we just keep everything as it is? And 64.4% responded not in favor of that option. So we did want to just kind of present these, the survey results to the board. And then below there, I've kind of outlined of those first 3 options, question 1, 2, and 3, kind of the impact on rider average size on the buses. So you can see that in that table below, if there's any impact on the bell schedule or start and end time, and then annual cost and ongoing cost. So because each option 1 and 3 do come with a cost. The cameras have a big one-time cost, and there's some annual costs for the software piece. And then that option 2, there is no additional cost because you're still using the same number of buses, just changing who's on the bus. And then the staggered route 1, having a second tier of buses, does come with an annual cost increase.
And is that directed just to Salem, that cost, or that would be
that would be
split?
just our portion of
that's
it.
just our portion?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Can you remind me again what percentage of our students are riders right now?
So
600?
yeah, I think in total, the way DPI works, we are allowed to get reimbursement. It's a very small amount. I think in total we get like $12,000 of reimbursement in total. But if a student rides one time for the whole year, we get to count them as a rider. On that metric, we're about 70 or 700 students, so about 70%. But on like regular everyday riders, it's closer to that 600 number. And then obviously the certain days, as the weather gets nicer, some more kids walk. And it varies day to day, but that 60% number is kind of right where we're at.
And am I remembering correctly that riders went down after COVID?
Mm-hmm.
And do we want them back up?
Well, I think this conversation started with, the drop off and pick,
Because
and
then that, they're related. Okay.
Yeah. So, it was, if more people wanted to be on the bus, but even that question, we didn't have as many people saying, I don't want to ride the bus. So people just chose not to take the survey. We had so few.
Sure.
So I don't even know at the end of the day. I can't say. So, but our idea was if we increase the number of people riding the bus, then maybe drop off and pick.
Right.
Yeah. Sorry.
What kind of results do we typically get from a survey? So like this is about 20% of riders, right? Ish.
Yeah.
13% of the whole school population.
I'm trying to think of something we've done. We've got more. I certainly got a lot more responses for the strategic plan.
Mm-hmm.
A lot more feedback. Yeah, 104 it's small compared to some of the responses we've gotten in other spaces. And this is just for us to think on. I would say from an administrator perspective, having better cameras on buses is going to help with some of the discipline. But if we circumvented another idea which would help with drop off and pickup, because Connie recognized that last year as a problem that came up on referendum. That was part of one of our initial phases of the redesign, but that was so expensive on the parking lot to redo all of that. But it was a little bit what what Bristol's doing, have a completely separate side for your buses, a completely separate side for, we were going to do that, we just couldn't afford it. So I think in the conversation when people were like, the drop off and pickup is really stressful, we thought, well, because we have more kids being dropped off, so.
My kids take the bus, so I don't experience the morning, but the parking lot off by the fields, do people ever park there and walk their kids? Can they do that? Is that an option? Or is that not safe?
Like the
So
back
like there's
parking lot
two-
over here?
There's two ways, right? So you can go through this way, or you can go straight, park, walk. Because I know people say there's not enough park, like some people park and walk up here, but then it's full, so then people do the curb. But can they use that lot, like if they're,
Like that's the second lot, the farther one back there? They could, I think what they're gonna still, I guess unless they came by the buses, you're still gonna be crossing traffic, because
Right.
you're gonna have 4K traffic going this way, so now
Oh.
you're crossing traffic.
twice, right? And then when the buses
Yeah.
leave. Sure.
And I think for a few minutes, and by minutes, it could be a year, it could be a moot point because of what we're about to do with construction anyway, with where we're gonna be staging all of the equipment. We're already having to, for 4K, they're gonna come in and out that same, it's just gonna, because you can't even go across in the back anymore.
That's right, all those containers.
Uh-huh.
Right, and we've also discussed in the past the construction on Highway 83 that's going to start at some point.
At some point.
And I'm not talking about 85 and, Highway 83 and 50, which is terrible, but,
All the way.
you know,
way down
south
here.
all the way to the border.
Yeah.
And then, I hope I'm not throwing Mark as a surprise question, so don't answer it if you don't want to. But what would that, if we did that, what would that cost take away
We did
from?
what?
If we did install the
Oh, okay.
cameras and all that, like, is that something you even know now or no? Okay,
No, that's
that's okay.
I mean, 42,000, you know, on a $16 million budget is not, I mean, it's still a significant amount, but yeah, it would come at the cost of something else,
Right.
which I don't know at this point.
Right, sure. That's why I prefaced it with.
Yeah.
You would be able to
Not
use
yet.
ESSER funds.
We could, yeah.
Uh-huh, yeah.
But again,
Yeah,
so.
and you know, I mean, I've gotten emails and not just me, but to other
Yeah.
board members about issues with regards to safety and cameras. And I'm hopeful that even though, you know, with our strategic plan and the CAC, we can talk about issues of safety, whether it's safety on buses, SRO, or whatever in the future. But, you know, the emails have been, you know, very specific to a situation which the school has dealt with individually. But as far as the cameras and everything, you know, it's a lot of money, but yet, you know, the questions that I've been asked is, what cameras make a difference? And the research out there is pretty clear that it does, as long as the cameras are turned on. Sometimes in some school districts, they're are in buildings. There are cameras, but they're not always on. So I think that's one of the questions that I've been asked, at least.
I mean, and we've got there's cameras on the buses now, sometimes they don't work. I mean, and even good cameras, some will go out.
Sure.
And it's usually at the worst time possible, and it's hard to believe it, but it's a thing. But I think it would give us a solution to a problem, but not perhaps the problem that we started with, so I don't.
I would say this, you know, this has been a discussion for the last 3 board meetings. We talked about this during the finance meeting too, just because it has numbers associated with it. You know, I think the general consensus is I feel like we could go either way with this, is what I've been gathering based on the last couple board meetings. So what you know, we put a survey out there, whether they used it or they didn't, that's, you know, that doesn't necessarily matter at this point. I would say moving forward, there was a 85.6% yes. I guess perhaps during your guys' next administrator meeting, because you guys really have the full pulse of the building at this point, discuss maybe this amongst yourselves, then come with some sort of recommendation towards the next board meeting.
Sure.
Or the one after that, if it takes another session or whatever the case is, to see what you as administrators feel that the building, or just if this would be helpful or not. Because as it relates to discipline and everyday action, I mean, other than my kids, you know, and what we discussed during these meetings, you know, I'm out of that, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I feel like the administration feedback to this as a recommendation, one way or the other, would help us make a decision moving forward.
Can I ask that we do it at the July meeting, only because June, we're gonna do budget, and so I would like to.
And that's why I said next, because I
Okay.
realize next one's gonna have a little bit of heaviness
Yeah.
to it with numbers, so.
Only because I would like to know what we want to walk out of that meeting with next month.
Entirely fine.
Perfect,
And
okay.
plus
yeah.
it gives you time to, it gives you time.
Yeah,
Because we're
Okay.
at the end of the school year too, which
True.
has got its own hecticness to
Yeah.
it, so.
okay. No, I like that idea. That's good.
Is that,
I
is
agree.
that
I think
fair?
that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Great.
So we had, finance, all the items we've been discussed already during the meeting, so there's no more minutes to report. We'll need to reschedule the policy committee, so I'll work on that, but our next meeting is June 27th.
And the groundbreaking is June
Second.
3rd. Second.
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 At
10 a.m.
10 a.m.
If you're coming, please let me know. Yeah.
For what?
If we're gonna attend.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
All right, I move to adjourn the meeting at 8:01 p.m.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Meeting adjourned.